welcome to another episode of Cowboy Chats.
Cowboy Chats is a channel to keep the spirit of the American West alive. To talk to modern day cowboys, legendary cowboys, and anybody in between to keep the cowboy tradition and values and the Western way of life alive and well.
Good morning to another episode of Cowboy Chats. If you like this episode, go on and like it and subscribe. Then you can see all the amazing episodes and you'll never miss one coming up. Today we're here in Saratoga Springs, Utah at NextGen Performance Horses with owner and head trainer, horseman extraordinaire, Bryan Rasmussen. This beautiful pony, Rev. We did have to breed her. We did have to bribe her to get her out here. Neither one of us bred this horse, I promise. And we did, it was an AI. Yeah, so we'll get started. First thing I want to know is, what do you think is a cowboy? If you hear the term or the phrase cowboy, or that's cowboy, or something like that, what is your idea of a cowboy?
So to me, the idea of a cowboy, it's more of a lifestyle. It's more of a mindset. You don't have to live on all this property or on a ranch. I think it's more of a mindset that you believe in the cowboy way of life. And so whether that means you live in the city and you go ride horses on the weekends, once a year, whatever, I think that the cowboy way of life is an awesome lifestyle. And so to me, it's just, if you want to be a part of it, that's you. You know, whatever that is to you. I don't think you have to have horses, live on a ranch. It's just a way of life.
Awesome. Excellent answer. And when did you first start riding horses and get into it? Like, born into it, or?
Yeah, so I grew up around it. My grandpa raced chariot horses and flat track horses, and then my dad did the same thing, and he trained for a few years. And so I was just born into this life, and I started riding, as soon as I could walk, if not before. And then I first started competing in riding club and junior rodeos when I was 8 years old. And then from there it just escalated on, and here I am. But
all right, and then once you got on and you realized you wanted to do something with horses, what really caught you? Like, you started off in different events for maybe 4-H or high school. I don't know how that all.
Right. So I first started out with the riding club, and they just do like the speed barrels, the flag race, egg race, all of those different gymkhana events.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years, but it wasn't competitive enough for me. So I started doing the junior rodeos.
Okay.
And then in the junior rodeos, I'd do the team roping, breakaway roping, goat tying, all of those. And then as I grew up, I started, going through the high school ranks and started calf roping and team roping and all of that.
So are you still doing calf roping or team roping, or?
Yeah, so I mainly right now I'm just training horses, whether that's colt starting, training barrel horses, whatever. But I do try to team rope as much as I can. I have a really nice head horse, so I try to use her as much as I can to do her some justice. And then I also calf rope in the amateur associations, and in the next year or two I plan to get my professional card. So.
Really? For calf roping?
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, and then this one is my personal favorite. And even I was under the same, same thought process, whatever. Is that pretty much just it's all women or girls in barrel racing.
Right.
That's kind of just what I grew up with. That's what I thought, and there's actually a lot of men that do it, and more prevalently, I found out traveling, especially with jousting, going everywhere. Like in the East Coast or in the Southeast, there's a lot of male barrel racers.
Right.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. It was the same thing when I traveled to Europe. The equine world is dominated by men in Europe. Where in the United States, the equine world is dominated by women.
Right.
Men are either buckaroos ranching or pro rodeo or just cowboys, riding or whatever. But the women dominate the equestrian world as far as horse ownership and dressage, English, whatever that is.
Right.
So I thought it was cool, because I know Bryan personally, So I've seen him a lot and been around him a lot. Awesome horseman. I've seen the horses he turns out. They're amazing. So I always like to promote him, whenever I see something on Facebook or whatever where he's talking about opening up spots and get people in, to get a horse into him. He's just, he's got the right attitude and the right everything. His technique, his method, the stuff I see him do is fantastic. And when I saw him barrel racing and found out that he does that, I was like, huh. Boy, barrel racer, huh? That's cool. And then the more I watch it, though, it kind of got more into like what all goes into that, because all we ever really see too is a horse popping a wheelie going into the NFR, and it's like, oh my gosh, those horses are insane, and then they go flying out, and maybe they stop, and maybe they don't, and I'm like, well, that doesn't look like much fun, like, you know what I mean? And then you see some people that put all that extra work into their horse and do other things with them, and the horse doesn't pop a wheelie going in, and the horse does actually stop when it comes out. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And that's one thing I appreciate about Bryan and his horsemanship and the horses he rides, is they are so multi-dimensional and do so many different things that their mind's not blown from just running barrels or just doing dressage, or like guys who just do jousting and make millions of passes and their horse is like done, they don't want to do it no more. And I watched him on a few of the Facebook Lives, and they had, I think you were in Salina for some, I think is where the biggest one was, right?
Yeah, probably Salina and Heber City.
Yeah, and it was actually really fun and really, really cool to watch. And so I have a new appreciation for barrel racing and what goes into doing it. And I think something that a lot of people aren't even aware of is like it's incredibly dangerous. Like, you're going 90 miles an hour and you make a hard left and a hard right and a hard left, or a hard left and a hard right and a hard right. Like it's gnarly, and they're coming in and they're slamming the ass on the ground and getting around the barrel and back down, and footing plays into it. The horse just losing his balance, or the rider throwing the horse off balance, and next thing you know, they're somersaulting. And I mean, anything can happen when that happens. Break your neck, you're paralyzed, you're dead, you're whatever. So there's got to be some fear factor, and that's what I want to ask Bryan about. Is there's got to be there's got to be a little bit of that. And then the other thing too is, I don't think people realize those barrels are actually they're metal. So when you hit those, it hurts, and you bust your shin on them and bust your shin open. And I imagine someone's probably broke their leg at least once hitting those barrels. And so we'll ask him, what got you excited or into doing the barrel?
It all happened because I grew up with 3 older sisters, and we always...
Oh, there it is, folks.
we would always take my dad's old race horses and, put them on the barrels or start roping on them or whatever. And so I just kind of grew up around the speed horses. That's what I grew to love. And so I would always, tune on my sister's barrel horses, or take the horses off the track, turn them into barrel horses and sell them. And then, I always laugh because I never planned on training horses full time, let alone training barrel horses full time. And so I always say, whatever was supposed to happen did, I guess, because this was never my plan. And so, it was all in God's timing. This is what was supposed to happen. And so I really enjoy riding the barrel horses. There's a lot more to it than people think. It's pretty easy to go around 3 cans. But there's a lot that goes into it. Your horse has to have the right mindset, the right ability, and then there's so many new eligibilities for horses too that it's really a tough event to compete in. But it's just kind of funny how it all happened. I never planned on training barrel horses full time, but here I am. So.
All right, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I've been impressed. So in all the different things you do, is there any of them that's like the most exciting, or the one that's like, has a little fear factor in it, or are they all just super fun and you're just like, woo, or what gets your adrenaline up? Do you get any, like get excited when you're doing any of them, or
right,
or does the adrenaline come when you're done? 'Cause sometimes different things I've done, as odd as it sounds, the adrenaline came after it was over. Like my mind and my focus is on the competing part of it, and I'm so laser focused on what it takes to do it I'm scared after. Like after the
Right.
like, oh man, that was scary. Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
So I don't know how's it for you.
So-
Any of them.
So for calf roping, for the most part, it's such a quick event. There's so many steps. You've got to, be set right in the box. You've got to get the start right, get out on the barrier just right. Position your horse correctly. You've got to rope it within the first second or two. Then you're going to be dismounting, running down the rope, flanking, tying, and that all has to happen within 10 seconds or less. The guys at the NFR, that's happening in 6 and 7. And so, you've got it. That all goes so fast for me. That has to be something that's rehearsed and practiced, and that all has to be muscle memory. So when I'm competing there, for my horse, she gets nervous at rodeos still because she's younger, and so I have to keep myself calm so that she stays calm and focused. So as far as the calf roping goes, for me, it's just kind of all a blur because my muscle memory kicks in and it just happens. As far as running the barrel horses, I ride so many young horses too because most of the time they come to me, they get started on the pattern and then they go home or they get sold. And so most of the ones that I ride, I get to the competition level and then they go down the road wherever they're gonna go. And I keep a couple here and there. But when they're first starting out, they feed off of your confidence a lot. And so you have to ride them confidently. You have to be calm, focused, and confident so that they are calm, focused, and confident. So that's been, a struggle for me like anyone. You have to keep your mental game really tough, and you have to stay focused and keep your emotions in check because when your emotions get off whack, that's when it's over. And so for me, where I'm so used to riding and running the young horses, I've had to learn how to keep myself calm and focused so that they can do the same.
You heard it, kids. Stay calm and focused.
So a little bit about my training program here. I try to keep between 10 and 12 training horses in all the time, year round. And then I have a few of my own too. This one right here is a 3-year-old stud colt by Dash to Fame. He's just coming around, learning, getting patterned, and he's showing a lot of potential, so we're really excited for him. But mostly what I do is start colts and then start horses on the barrel pattern. I do have 2 or 3 fraternity horses for next year. He might be one of them, but where he's only 3, he could run as a 4-year-old next year or as a 5-year-old. So we're just kind of letting him tell us what he wants. And then I have 2 other 4-year-olds that will run next year. As far as how we operate, how often they get rode, we ride 5 days a week, guaranteed to all my clients. Most Saturdays I ride as well, but it just depends on if I'm at a rodeo, at a jackpot, or whatever we have going on. But I guarantee that they get rode 5 days a week. If I'm out of town for some reason for a fraternity or a rodeo or whatnot, then I have an awesome helper Laurie too that helps me keep things running while I'm away. So that's kind of how we work around here. I make sure that all the horses get fed 2 to 3 times a day, lots of nice deep shavings in their stalls, turn out as much as I can, and then they're always exercised every day no matter what. Stalls are cleaned every day, nice clean facility, so I don't settle for mediocrity. So that's just kind of how I work. And
Like, subscribe so you can catch all the videos we got coming up. And we'll see you down the trail. Keep your guns oiled, powder dry.